Hello, welcome everyone. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes, but before we begin, I'm going to go over some brief technical details. For those of you who have joined us for webinars in the past, you might notice that the display looks a little bit different than what you've seen before. So follow along with us as we try out a new tool here. You can find your toolbar at the bottom of the screen. And you'll be able to use your audio controls and ask questions using that toolbar at the bottom. You may need to move your mouse a little bit to get it to pop up if it goes into hiding. And that is where you'll be able to ask questions as well. There is a pane in the bottom toolbar called Q&A, and if you click on that, it'll open a new window for you. And from there, you can type in your questions and click send, and that will send the questions to me, and I'll be able to share them with our panelists today. Everyone's microphone has been muted for this webinar today, so that is the best way to share any questions that you may have. So I think with that, we can go ahead and get started. The webinar today is Tanzania, Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. We're thrilled to be joined today by Lucas Mhina. Lucas is Holbrook's expert guide in Tanzania. He was born and raised in Arusha, which is the safari gateway of Tanzania. And in addition to his BA in hospitality and tourism management, he has certifications in advanced field guiding and first aid. He is fluent in English and Swahili, and he has a keen interest in ecology. He truly enjoys sharing his knowledge of the birds and wildlife of East Africa, as well as the local culture. So we're happy to have him here sharing that with us today. We're also joined by two panelists as well. We're joined by Holbrook's president and CEO, Andrea Holbrook, and our Holbrook Travel Vice President and Air Specialist, Lori McLaughlin. Andrea joined the Holbrook team in 1993 and has been the president and CEO since 1998. In addition to her role at Holbrook, she's also involved with Selva Verde Lodge and Rainforest Reserve in Costa Rica. And Lori has worked at Holbrook since 1987. She's traveled to many countries throughout the world. And when she's not at the office, you're most likely to find Lori playing tennis or spending time with her great nieces and nephews. So today, Lucas will be discussing some of the amazing sites and species that you'll encounter on a Tanzania expedition. He'll be sharing some of the country's geography, wildlife, culture, some of the travel trends that are happening right now, and he'll be giving an overview of the key parks and logistics. And at the end, we'll have time for Q&A. So again, we encourage you to submit any questions that you may have. So Lucas, with that, I will turn it over to you, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. As I've been introduced, my name is Lucas Mhina from Tanzania. I've been guiding for almost 20 years and doing most of our Holbrook travel trips back there. So I would like to share with you my beautiful country. I know there's so many places in the world you can go, but for those who are real wildlife lovers and nature lovers in general, Tanzania is one of the best destinations to go. As you can see, where the Tanzania is, we're in eastern part of the African continent, and right there in East Africa, you know, we got six countries which form the East Africa Union. We have Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan. So we are still working on some few things. Our official government is still working on some few things to make it, you know, all the East Africans, so they can move around, they can invest around, but they're still working on that. But in all those East African countries, Tanzania is the biggest country into that region, size-wise. And one of the very amazing is we have so many tribes into that country. We're talking about over 127 different tribes living into that piece of land. And it's the most peaceful country among the East Africa. I don't mean other countries are not peaceful, no, but we're so lucky since we got independent till today. There's no any kind of a political problem or religion problem or tribalism problem happening in our country. And of course, so many other people from other part of Africa, southern part of African countries, northern and eastern, they've been moving into our country to live in there. So that's why we have all these tribes. But a little bit about Tanzania again. Where the name Tanzania came from, Tanzania is a combination of two countries. We have the mainland, which is, as you can see, that yellowish thing. That's we used to be called Tanganyika, and there's two little islands on the Indian Ocean, very close to that, Madagascar. You can see that on a big map. Zanzibar and Pemba. So those islands, they got independence. You know, they got the country back from the Arabs in 1963, and we got independent from the English 1961, and 64 we decided to unite, 26th of April, and then formed up that Republic of Tanzania. So once this country was formed, they decided to come up with a new name. You can call it Tanganyika or Zanzibar. It came up with the name Tanzania. So Tanzania is a combination of some few words from Tanganyika and some few words from Zanzibar, and formed up Tanzania. So it's a Republic of Tanzania, which have all these tribes in there and all these people in there. And as I can say, we're very peaceful. We have almost half Christians, half Muslims, like 35% roughly. And then the other percentage, which is 30% to make 70, we have the Indians who are living there, Indian Tanzanians, I mean, the second or third or fourth generations living there from India. We have people believe their own gods, you know, some few Maasais who are interior villages, the Bushmen, the Sonjo, they're into there. Yeah, so that's a little bit of Tanzania. But if you want to compare Tanzania to United States, we're almost the size of Texas, you know. So Texas is much bigger than our piece of land. So you got a huge country. But for the why Tanzania, you know, as I was saying earlier, there's so many places somebody, you know, you can decide to go, Southern Africa, wherever. But Tanzania have almost 25% of all wild animals. They're into that piece of land. And which is about a quarter of all the animals, you know, including the wildebeest migration. So if you really want to see 1,000 numbers of animals, talk about wildebeest and zebras and elephants, Tanzania is the place, no matter what. And I know our neighbor, Kenya, they're very good, of course, a very good country, but they're very good on marketing, you know. You go down to South Africa, they're very good on marketing too. That's why, you know, we're not well that much known. But if you really want to have a true African experience in terms of wildlife, you have to come to Tanzania. And I'm not saying because I'm from there, that's the truth behind the scene. And of course, not only people come there for seeing a lion, a leopard, and a wildebeest and zebras, there's bird lovers, you know. We got so many birds, and out of Republic of Congo, we are the second country to have more species. And of course, we have a lot of migratory birds come from Europe, North Africa, of course, they come all the way to a piece of land. And normally the best time, if you have people who are birders who are thinking of doing birding in Africa, is between December all the way to end of May, early June, I can say that. Because we have so many migratory birds come from Europe. You know, they escape the cold there, the winter, they come down to East Africa, and of course they got a different diet there. And plus the normal birds you keep seeing in our country. And we're very lucky because you know, birds, they like different kind of habitats. So we got jungles, we got just normal tropical forests, we have woodland, we have savannas, we have open areas. So all those kind of habitats, we got those, and that's what birds loves too. And of course, even if somebody is not a bird lover, we got those beautiful color ones, like rivers, like rollers, you know, definitely even not you're not birder, you're gonna take a picture of that. Yeah, and look at this, that piece of land, I mean, the Tanzania map. All those little yellow dots, that's what I'm so pleased about my country. Those, they're under conservation in different way. Game reserves, national parks, and game control areas, they're all that. And it's almost 30%, yeah, 28 to 30% of that land is under conservation in different ways. So it's a well-protected area. And of course, we say thanks to whoever are nature lovers, USA, the German, Frankfurt, all these people, they're helping us in so many different ways to protect these places. And so out of that, we're very lucky country. Like one of the things, we're not a locked country. When we're further east, we have Indian Ocean, you know, and way up north there, we have a Lake Victoria, right there, which is the second biggest lake in the world after Lake Superior in the United States. And almost 51% of the water body is in our country. Of course, part of it is in Uganda and is in Kenya, but the biggest part of it is in our lovely country. And if you go way further west, we have Lake Tanganyika, which is the second deepest lake in the world after the one in Russia. You know, I don't remember the name, but this lake became deeper just because of the Great Rift Valley, you know, which crossed on the border of Tanzania on the western part, and goes all the way to Red Sea. And there's, of course, there's another goes through the Ngorongoro area and goes all the way to Kenya and up there. And of course, we got Mount Kilimanjaro, you know. So all this, including Serengeti National Park, Ngorongoro Crater, which is a must to see. We have one of the big park right in the middle of the park here called the Lewis Game Reserve, which is, again, that's a heaven for elephants. So you can see why Tanzania. So, but there's so many attractions all over in the country. You go to Western, you go to see the chimps. You go to Eastern, there's the Indian Ocean, there's Zanzibar Islands. You go to central Tanzania, there's all those beautiful untouchable lands. You come to the northern part of the country, that's where you got all the Serengeti, Ngorongoro, Tarangire, Mount Kilimanjaro, all those together. But basically, I'll just base in the northern part of the country where most of these attractions, most of the people want to see. One of it is in Ngorongoro Crater. Okay, people want to see animals, but being there, this is one of the places you have to see in the future if somebody can. So I'll talk about it. So there's Ngorongoro Crater, which is an Ngorongoro conservation area, and then there's Oldupai Gorge. This is where I'm sure you heard about Dr. Leakey, who discovered the human being fossils, and then of course Mount Kilimanjaro. I've said a bit about it, and the Great East African Migration, which is I'll talk about it a bit, and the culture. You know, you might say I want to go and see animals and be here and there, but seeing local people, mingle with the local people, eat local food. That's part of experience, and you can share that with your people, and that's all about. And of course, going to Zanzibar, which is, we call it a spice island. Of course, it's the Stone Town, which is a World Heritage Site, and they have spice farms, which originally were brought in by the Arabs, and go to those beautiful beaches, you know. So it's one of the very beautiful places. The Ngorongoro Crater, this is the name Ngorongoro came from the Maasai people who moved in down there in 13th, 14th century, and they call this Ngorongoro because it's according to them it means a cowbell. You know, the way cowbell make ngorongoro ngorongoro. So that's where the name comes from. But we're still using the old term crater. Due to its size, this is caldera. And in a very simple definition, a crater, it is an erupted volcano. So the scientists said this used to be a taller mountain than Mount Kilimanjaro today. And Mount Kilimanjaro is about 19,000 feet. So let's say this was 2021, who knows? And then the first time it erupted and all the lava ashes were pushed to the Serengeti plains. And second time, it collapsed and formed that huge hole in there. So it's about 110 square miles in there, 265 square kilometers. And it is the only unbroken caldera in the world with animals in it, which means if you want to go into that big natural hole, you have to descend and ascend. And that cross is about 100 square miles, you know, miles, crossing like that in there. So you can see how big it is. We're talking over 25,000 animals in a caldera. So there's so many animals there. And 2/3 of them, they're wildebeests and zebras. And of course, lions down there, some few cheetahs, lots of hyenas. It's one of the parks where you see more hyenas per square miles according to the size down there. Of course, it's a breeding place for rhinoceros and some few elephants and gazelles or whatever. We call this a beginner's park, you know, where you can be able to see almost everything, you know. And some people who come to Arusha for conferences or Moshi or Dar es Salaam, they want to do a game drive, we always tell them go to Ngorongoro because that's where you're going to be able to see almost everything and you go. But if somebody comes from North America, you can just do it the way you want to make it, at least the minimum, make it 10 days. And other people goes up 25 days, depends on how you want to do, because there's so many to see. And the way we make our itineraries with Holbrook, you have the few days in Arusha, a few days in Tarangire, and each place is different, which is one of the very amazing thing in northern part of Tanzania. You start at the Arusha area, it's a kind of a forested area. You go to Tarangire, it's a lot of baobab trees, those living trees, and the woodland. You come to Ngorongoro, On the forest is tropical montane forest. You go down is open, as you can see on that shot. You go to Serengeti's huge endless plain and rivers and acacia woodland. So it's all mixed up, and we always try to make it in a way that you have a pass in between so that you can enjoy the beauty of this place. So anyway, back to this, we normally go down in a crater and enjoy the game drive there, see those animals, and stays in one of the lodges on top. There's about 4 lodges there: Sopa Lodge, Ngorongoro Crater Lodge, Serena Lodge, and Wildlife Lodge. But the Wildlife Lodge got the best view ever of that area down there. Both of them, they have views, but that one, because it's the oldest into that area, they got the best place, of course, on the settings. Yeah, so this is how it looks. This is mid-January, December a little bit, January, March and May. It's very green, and a little bit of June. And then after that, July, August, September, October, it turns to be brown, but with a little water down there. And of course, I forget, in the caldera down, this is where you see flamingos, you know, lesser flamingos, which are more pinker, pinker in color. And of course, the hippos down there too. In one of these little springs, little lakes are beside the main one, because this lake here is alkaline lake. Yeah, so that's how it is about Ngorongoro. Then some people, they've been studying about Likis, they want to go there, and so this one we put on a program because it's between Ngorongoro and Serengeti. It's on the way to Serengeti. It's like you just take a detour, it's less than 3 kilometers down on the right side. So we go there, and they got a beautiful museum where you can get all those fossils, and they give you a lecture on why that place. And for our groups in Holbrook, one of the best thing is we normally go way down where they discovered those human being fossils, the zinc and all the thing. And then after that, we might have lunch there and then proceed, or we might have lunch on the way to Serengeti. Yeah, so, and of course, Mount Kilimanjaro, if this can be add-on on a normal wildlife safari, if you get people who are interested to do Mount Kilimanjaro, normally it's between 5 to 7 days, climb up there, like 4 days up or 5 days up there, depends on how fit you are. And there's so many different routes to climb the mountain. And then get there, go all the way to the summit. And we got a professional guide, mountain guides who goes with you. Of course, you're going to have your porter who's going to take your tent, your food and everything. But there's another route, which is an easier one called Coca-Cola route, where there's huts everywhere on the way from certain kind of altitude, the tent stay for you to overnight until you get to the summit. And the name Kilimanjaro, of course, it came from local people, the Chaga people. We Africans, before we had the missionaries came down in Africa, we had our own gods. And the locals, by seeing the white cap on top of the mountain in the middle of nowhere, they call it Mountain of God, which is the meaning of the word Kilimanjaro. Till Christianity came, and everybody know God through Jesus, or Muslims, Muhammad, like that. But not everybody can climb the mountain, so we have an excuse for those who can climb. If you can climb it, you drink it. So there's Kilimanjaro beer and the Kilimanjaro water if you're not a beer drinker. But of course, go for Kilimanjaro beer. It's more, it makes you part of it, And of course, this Kilimanjaro water is what we drink every single day in our safari while we enjoying the beauty of Tanzania. Yeah, the Great East Africa Migration, it's not easy, and I've been telling so many people, everybody asking me, and even the people been in Tanzania, it's not easy to explain to somebody how special this thing is. It's, imagine you're in the middle of you're on a plane, you don't see the end of the plane, but it's all dark, full of wildebeest. We talk over 2 million animals, This exclude the zebras, exclude the gazelles, exclude the other antelopes, which are migrating. But everybody knows that when you talk about migration in Serengeti, it's all about wildebeest, which is not 100% true. It's only because they're in a big number compared to other animals. And so we have all these other animals which migrate. Like just telling you a little bit about Serengeti, as you can see here, this piece of land, as you can see, my mouth goes around. This is the Serengeti National Park. It is almost the size of Connecticut, one of your small states here. And the white line, this is an international border between Tanzania and Kenya. And up here, this is Masai Mara, which is in Kenya side, which is almost 1/10 of Serengeti size-wise. And of course, Ngorongoro down there, and this is a game reserve, Maswa and Ikorongo and other places. But why I just mention all this is one huge ecosystem, including the Masai Mara. You cannot talk about Serengeti without touching a Mara or a little bit of Ngorongoro and this area, because this is how these animals migrate. And as you can see, this animation, it goes up and down like that. And if you look on the way it's written, Great East Africa Migration, you can see the month. So that's how they move. So this means that when you talk about migration, Serengeti is a seasonal park. It depends on where you are and what time of the year. And that's one of the things about Holbrook, that we have agreed that in Serengeti, you don't stay less than 4 nights. What I mean here is you get a chance to, two of the nights, you just get a chance to follow migration, where they move. And this is where we stay in a tented camps. And I will show you some of the slides. You can see tents, how they look like. But just want to show you, like, if somebody want to travel December to May, except April, because of April it's rainy. We normally go in southern Serengeti, just bordered with Ngorongoro, right down here, as you can see the animation, the way it goes. And then with the central Serengeti, that you can see my mouth right here, goes. This is the central Serengeti. It's all year round, because this is a haven for cats. Talk about leopards, lions, cheetahs. This is a place, as well as hippos into the rivers, crocodiles, and all those kind of things. So it's right in the center here. And if you want to see the crossings, we have 3 different rivers here. We have the Grumeti River, which is in the western, that flows from central all the way to the western part of the Serengeti towards Lake Victoria, because all these rivers flows into Lake Victoria. And then there's the Mbalageti River. And then up here, there's a Mara River in Tanzania side. So don't get me wrong. Mara River, there's a Kenya side and Tanzania side. So all these places, you got the chance to see that. So for example, like in Grumeti River or Mbalageti River, base time is mid-June and July. And August, September, October, it's way up north here. So we normally camp up north here, you know, and we stay 2 nights in Central. We go way north there for the last 2 nights. Or if they are way western part of the Serengeti, because western to Central is very close, you can stay both 4 nights here in the Central. And then the first nights, you can do the game drive here in the morning and afternoon. And the other day, go, it's like 1 hour-ish drive to the western part of the Serengeti and see those crossing the Mara River, or see around the Grumeti River, and then come back there and then out. So that's a little bit about it. But the reasons why these animals migrate, one of the reasons is water. They have to drink almost every day. And then, of course, there's food. They eat a lot. They need a lot of grasses in a big number. According to another article I was reading about the Serengeti researchers, they were saying they eat almost 4 tons of grasses a day. Not one, I mean, that big number. So that means they need a lot of grasses. And of course, they poop a lot. You know, by doing that, they manure the soil. You get a grass, I feed you, and then you feed me like that. So it goes like that. And the way they move from one place to another, for them, is looking for food, looking for water. But there's so many creatures who are not migratory, you know, like crocodiles in the river, pythons, territorial lions, territorial leopards. They're so pleased when they go to the area, and that's how they feast on them. And that's how life goes on, and they support that. And then when they go to all these places, they manure the soil. So every little piece gets a little piece of part of it from the wildebeest. Yeah, so those are the 2 main reasons. But the third reason, once they get to where they're heading to the Western Serengeti, which is June, July, that is the rutting season. That's the mating season. And that's when the males are no longer friendly to each other. They fight a lot. They make the little groups, mating. And then June and July, because the June they met with the younger females. The females were born a year ago. And then July they met with the females who were born in the same year. And this means that every year, wildebeest female are baby producer machine. You know, it does matter, whatever, if you're alive, you're gonna have a baby. And then August, September, October, November, December, all the way to the next June. Males, they regroup themselves again, that become good friends, and they talk about good life they had. They're waiting for the next June. So it goes like that year and a year and a year. So my point here is, in order to see this, you have to have a minimum 4 nights in Serengeti. And for some people who were photographers, the early February and March, that's the best time when the wildebeest are giving birth in southern Serengeti. And August, September, and a little bit of October, northern Serengeti for Mara River crossing, for photographers. Other parks are easy, you can just put them wherever. But if you get the real photographers, they have a specific, we want to see crossing, or we want to see giving birth season, so that like that. But for the best season for the cheetahs is December, January, February, March, and May, which is way in southern Serengeti. And luckily, in the border of Serengeti, close to Ngorongoro, a place called Ndutu, this area you can off-road without even needing a permit. So it's easy to counter those. And even our vehicles are designed special for photographer. We can take out the roof on top, and it's open, and we have bin bags there and ready for the action. And for the birders, guides, we get very good guides who are professional for all those kind of things. So these are the migratory ones. We have the wildebeest, which are dominant, with almost 2 million. And we have the zebras, we have the Thompsons and Grant gazelles, and then we have the elands. So these are the main ones. And of course, some few carnivores, like a few hyenas. We have some nomadic lions, but these lions does not completely root. They, like a younger males, maybe they get a 2 years old, like that. The daddy kick them out, and then they full migration somehow. They're ending up somewhere. They take over another pride, like that. So talk about lions in Serengeti ecosystem, which combined with the Mara, got the strongest gene pool compared to anywhere in the world, because of these males move from one place to another, and then they boost up the gene, instead of like in Ngorongoro Crater, where we have the same males, and sometimes we have a problem on inbreeding down there. Yeah, so this is one of the amazing shot I got at a couple of, one of my trip in September, October, where when they're crossing the river, you can see all these are males. They just regroup themselves from the females. Boom. You can see the types of the way both males and females have horns, but if you look in front of the horn, you can see the little, we call bosses, little hump in front of the horns. So they all regroup themselves, like they've already fertilized the females June and July. They've done the job now. They go together. So they cross the river. Sometimes they they go to the other side, and then when they feel like the other side have more grasses, they do it again the next day, like that, And that's why we tease these animals, say the wildebeest are animals without a brain, they just do something like that. And look, the one who's very far right, he think like he knows way much better compared to any of these guys. So when they're crossing a river like this, these animals, they kill each other a lot, more than being killed. Because down there in the river, there are a lot of granite stone, big rocks, and these are hoofs animals. When they're pushing each other, like move, 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 some of them drown and can make it. Like you could look the ones which are way further left, or the current of the water is too strong. Like that's what you see, like that U kind of. So lots of them, they die. But end of the day, one of these days come floods, and then takes all the dead bodies to Lake Victoria. And once they get there, there's so many creatures depend on them, because in the time they get to Lake Victoria, it's a couple of miles away. It doesn't go there as a full, like the way the wildebeest body is, because when it's heading there, being pushed, by water, it's hitting the bank of the river, the tree, the rocks, wherever. In the time it gets to the Lake Victoria, it's in the small little particles. And those ones are fed by little bacteria or microscopic little insects, and those ones for fish, and fish for crocodile, or fish for human beings. So it's like a huge ecosystem, depends on each other. It's like, form like a food web or food chain. Yeah, so this is what we normally see. And the end of December, January, February is a little bit brown, but once there's a little rain, it looks greener like that. March, of course, April, but a lot of people don't travel in April. And May, like that. And you can see it's just a mixture of not only wildebeest, there's zebras there, And if you're close to these, if you use your binoculars, right in the middle, you get the Thompson's gazelles, Grant's gazelles. You see the jackals jogging, trotting in between, looking for whoever limping. Even there's a baby, or maybe wildebeest give birth, and then there's a placenta. You know, it's all action. You see hyenas right in the middle, and sometimes way back there, you see like a mountain. Those are rocks. That's where the lions and cheetahs stays up there, and then they look down and say, you know, honey, which one do you want for dinner tonight? You know, so it goes like that. They're all depending on each other. So wildebeest and zebras, we call them complementary feeders. Most of the time you see them mixed up together in both parks, Ngorongoro or Serengeti, whatever, it does matter, because they have no competition on feeding. Zebras normally eat the upper grass, and the wildebeest, they eat the shorter grass. And they have the same enemies, you know, talk about lions, hyenas, because hyenas, they're not only scavengers, they do a lot of hunting, you know. So they alert each other, but zebras are more clever than wildebeest. But once the zebra does kind of sound, wildebeest knows, oh, this is not okay. And wildebeest, they know whatever they see something, this kind of sniffing, and the zebras knows, you know, so they alert each other. And in between them, it doesn't matter, because you can say there must be birds there, you know, like tick pickers, or the other bird which goes for the butterflies or grasshoppers, all kind of insects flying after this animal moving. Those ones, they depend on these guys for food when they move, as well as they alert them if there's any danger. So it's like a kind of proto-cooperation ecologically. Yeah, so this is when it's a giving birth season. As you can see, the mama there with a little baby. But if you look the one on the far, the right one, if you look in the back, you can see the little legs coming out. So it's the real giving birth ground. Once the one start dropping, it's like a machine. You know, they'll here they drop, you can see here or wherever. So as long as you take your binocular and look, you know, you'll see a lot of female. Each one is ready to enter in the labor and drop the babies there. So it goes like that. And this is a mid-February and until mid-March. That's when it's time to give birth. But down in the Ngorongoro Crater, it sometimes happen earlier, maybe end of January, and they're all February. So it just depends on where you are. And here's a baby zebra, you know. One of the things interesting about zebras, once they give birth, they normally eat the placenta, you know, right there, you know. So according to, as far as I know, they just eat that to avoid the predation that, you know, hyenas or jackals won't see where they should give birth. Yeah, so now for these animals, right after being born, less than 15 minutes, they can go mama speed. And this is a time when we call it a rutting season. This is June and July. And this, you can see the grass level have changed, taller compared to back here. See here, you can see miles, and that's where the wildebeest like a place like this to give birth, because they can see miles. But here, it's in the middle of Serengeti, towards western part of Serengeti. The grasses are taller. And that's where they're moving toward the Grumeti River, and then Mbalageti River, and then they're right and heading further north of Serengeti. And this is a rutting season. This is when the males, you can hear them chasing each other, fight a lot, and try to group as much females as they can so that they can fertilize them. The number of zebras, it's amazing. You know, those few zebras, you get them mixed up with the wildebeest, but the zebras which are, you know, just regroup themselves, and a couple of hundred, we might get a couple of thousands of them that just mixed up. So this is one of the things I was saying, almost 1 million zebras we have into that huge ecosystem. And this is when they go down to drink water. Of course, the zebras and wildebeest, they are real water dependent in different ways. But one of the things, look how those ears are looking like. They're all very alerted, very careful, because they know in the water must be Mr. and Mrs. Crocodile there. And behind them, like you see one of the zebra here with the ear facing backward, might be a lion, because closer water is the most dangerous place. So everybody is very careful into that. Okay, are you all there?
We're here.
Oh, good. So you know, so I just want to make sure. Of course, for predators, into the system, into the ecosystem Serengeti. Of course, in Ngorongoro Crater, there are over 70 lions in 3 different tribes. And in Serengeti, we took over 3,000 lions into different prides, and of so many other carnivores like cheetahs, leopards, hyenas, jackals, caracals, saurochets, all those, and other crocodiles on the river. So in the lions, actually, there's two different types. There's a golden mane, as you can see this guy, which when I say about these lions, you see them right there. It's not something where you can see in the miles. They're right there, very close. Sometimes if you can even do a selfie, or you can use your cell phone to take a picture. So you don't need to have a big camera for this kind of photographer. And there's a black maned lion. So this is one of the golden or yellow maned, and then there's a black maned lion into that. So they all live, they're all in Serengeti, Ngorongoro, Tarangire, all those places. And we got, the female lion with the baby, and as you can see, they're all full belly there, but still they kill. So this will, which means these creatures have been created to kill. And you see, they got the wildebeest here, and she was trying to look away so she could pull that under the tree somewhere there, and the baby's like, "Mama, you can do it," And this is one of my favorite shots, which I really like it. What I mean here is normally mornings are the best, especially in Serengeti for the good picture. But the morning might be the best, but you need to have the right guide. So where and how you position the car to get this kind of pictures, you need to have a professional safari guide. So those are the ones we use, because you might have the best itinerary ever or the best hotels ever, but if you have a wrong guide, that's wrong. So we know exactly how our guides are, and they're well trained to deal with the families, to deal with the photographers, to deal with individuals, to deal with honeymooners, on all those categories. We really take and kill that. And here's the cheetah, of course. He was just trying to catch up a gazelle, and I got that shot. I was so lucky to get it right there. You can see it was in a full speed. As you can see, the black lines from the ears, from the eyes going down, that tells you it's a cheetah. And of course, here's the mama cheetah with the 4 siblings, and they're old enough. When they get about 2 years, that's the time when she let them go, and then she become on ostrich on heat again, and then she goes and produces another babies. And then luckily, this is one of, I love this picture, mama cheetah with her 4 younger ones. Yeah, and that's the Serengeti. Of course, hyenas, we got those 2, which are very unique creatures. In all what animals we have, carnivores, meat eaters, hyenas are very unique in a way that they're not only scavengers, they do a lot of hunting for themselves, as well as hyenas, they give birth only to puppies, they're not dogs, they're not cats, they're right there in the middle. And they do, once they give birth to puppies, if the 2 puppies, both are females, one will normally kill another one in between that time of being born to a few weeks in between, and she remains herself. But if the male and female, there's no problem. Always brothers said, "Oh, you can have all the milk, I'm okay with you. Once you're done, I can take over." So they're very unique creatures in our wilderness there. And of course, the saurochets. This is one of the smallest spotted cat, the second smallest spotted cat we have in our wilderness. Mostly goes for the mice, rats, birds, small game. They're very good jumpers. Yeah, and okay, this is a baby leopard. He was left on the tree by the mama. Mama went to hunting, and it looks a little bit sad, but that's how it is in the wilderness. Of course, the hippos, that's one of the things we really like to stay 4 nights in Serengeti National Park, where you can get a chance to go to the hippo pool very early in the morning. Because hippos are very active in the night, not in the daytime. Daytime, in the water, they call it a day. So when they go grazing at night, and in the morning, that's between before 6 all the way to 7, that's the time they're coming back. So we normally leave the camp very early in the morning and drive to the hippo pool and park there and wait for those who haven't been down in the water yet and see that interaction and how they interact themselves, sometimes the male fight, for the position, because once they leave the water, they lose territory. And on the way back, you have to fight for that. The females, they're okay. And especially like in July, August, September, October, that's the mating season. and the dry season, that's where a lot of actions take place. So we go there, get out of the car. As you can see that lady sitting right there, and just enjoy, as much as can. And then after that, we have breakfast and proceed with the game drive. Of course, these are vultures, which will need them in the wilderness on, eating all these dead animals, carcasses. And here they're just enjoying a zebra. You can see a little stripes right in the middle there. And they get so many different types of vultures, about 7, 8 different types. Of course, giraffes. As you can see on a giraffe here, got a little birds on baby's back there. These are oxpeckers or tick pickers, and they feed on the ticks on these animals. And of course, this is what we call mutualism ecologically. They're all depending on each other in different ways. So we got these animals there, and then this tells you, or shows you how close you can get to this animal. So this is a big male lion here, and of course the car there. And sometimes you get them way much closer, as you can see. In the vehicles, these safari vehicles we have this roof on top, which blocks the direct sun to you. But if we get a photographers, we normally take this out. So you have the whole thing up there, you can wear your hat. But what I mean here, if for normal people, 2 people, the car like this can take 6 people behind the driver, and each one have a window seat. And in there's a place where you can charge your camera. There's a cooler, there's a fridge actually, which is cooling the water all the time. And you have a window seat, and if you want, you can stand up and take the pictures. But because the line was way much closer, you can just enjoy that. And the elephants, this tells how close you can get, from where the vehicles are. And look at this mama elephant, how careful she is. She got an older baby, first generation, second generation there. But the one here, she got another baby's way back there. She's looking and make sure everything is under control, like that. So yeah, this was this year, February, one of our Holbrook tour. You can see the big number of zebras in the wildebeest there, and this is how close we can get to these animals. Yeah, and these are 4-wheel drive vehicles, so, and well designed for doing safari. And this is how close, this is a leopard, and sometimes how close you can get to the leopard. Of course, this car was not very close, this little distance, because when you see these animals, again, I go back to guide, because I'm a guide for 20 years. Guide is very important. We call them driver guides or professional safari guides. Position of the car, keep a car in a distance where you are not threatening the animal. You make the animal comfortable. Otherwise, it's going to be a threat for him or her and then attack you. So you keep a distance. That's a job of the driver guide. While everybody behind the car say, wow, stop, you know how you are supposed to park and where you are supposed to park, which is very, very important. Yeah, so this is how the vehicles are looking like inside. You can charge your small electronics like cameras, iPads, you name it. And you stand up there, take the pictures. You can open the window, take the pictures. Sometimes the animals get very close, like that. And then, as I say, there's a cooler box down there, a fridge down there where you can put the water there and cool it. Yeah. So out of the wildlife and all the places we go, Arusha National Park, Tarangire, so those who want to do Mount Kilimanjaro, or you want to go to Ngorongoro, you want to go to Serengeti. The other thing we combined in our tours, and we always like our people to know, is the culture. You get a taste of true Africa. And where we go, we understand other places in the world you might go is too much touristic, it's too commercial. We go to a real authentic villages. We go into people's homes. Like when we go to Maasai village, you go way interior where the locals people go. And then what we normally do in African culture, when you go to visit somebody, I don't know in your culture here, you have to go something, not money necessarily, you go something. So we normally stop in a local market there and buy like corn and beans, something like a food, like to say thanks. And then once after we visit there and go inside their house and discuss and talk and share, we say, this is our little gift, which they really appreciate that. And of course, automatically it goes to the whole rest of the family. And so that's one of the things. And the other thing, we visit the markets, where the local people do shopping. This is one of the very interesting things. It's like a farmer's market here, but this is a daily, it's Monday to Monday, every single day. Once you go there, it's like a big mall here, but in a different way, where there's everything. There's a dry food section, you get a rice, beans, corn, wherever. There's a vegetable section where people sell all kind of vegetables, local and whatever you name it. And there's banana section, there's a butcher meat section. And because our country have a mixture of Christians and Muslims, most of the butchers are halal. And then they might write there Israel, something like that, which means it's halal, you know, come and buy from us if you're Muslim or Christian, like that, because they know both religion people goes and buy from them and all those kind of things. So, but mostly it's so interesting. Once you go into these places, there's nothing fixed price. Yeah, if you want to buy tomato, whatever, there are 5 of them, they tell you $2. You don't pay $2. It's a game. So if you might pay $1.50, like that. So you have to negotiate. And always they like men who are going to do shopping, because we just do there and pay it out. But when they see women coming, women knows the price very well in our culture, by the way. So they are like, oh, okay, we won't make a lot of money. But the interesting thing is, if you go there and you pay, they tell you $2 and you pay $2, oh my God. They're like, oh my God, I wish if I could tell this guy like $6, whatever, so like that. Yeah, so, and this is the Maasai people. As I was saying before, we go into their villages, we talk there, we start interacting with them. Sometimes if they're all still in the village, they give us a little dance and we go inside their hut to see how they live, we interact. And these people are so amazing. In all these over 125 different tribes, these people are still living traditionally. And they're really respecting each other. So amazing, where they have like a rank, like in the army, there's elders, there's junior elders, there's warriors, there's a junior warrior, there's uncircumcised boys, like that. And it goes like that for men. And there's a women ranking as well. And these are the people who are cows dependent. Cows are everything for them. Of course, things have changed a little bit. Now they somehow goes for other stuff, but mostly livestock. Special cows. Cows means food. Cow because they get the milk, blood, and meat from that. Cows means a wife because they use the cows to pay dowry. You cannot just get married without paying cows. And the cows means a place to sleep, because they use a cow skin as a mattress. Cows means wealthy. The more cows you have, the more respected you are. And the ones who are living in interior village, they still use a cow dung for plastering their huts. So you can see how important the cows are. So we normally visit there, as I said, into those villages. And for accommodation, actually, this is one of the things I would like people to know, that the way we do our program, we combine it. Some people might be interested on a high, top niche accommodation. They're there, 5 stars, 6 stars, you name it, no matter how you want, it's there. But other people want to mix it, a little bit of 3-star and 4-star and 5-star, like that. But the best experience, once you get to a park, Serengeti National Park, staying in a tent is the best ever, because that's what takes you there. That takes you close to nature. That's where you'll be able to hear these animals at night, the lion, leopard. We have a 4 seasons. We have those kind of lodges, top niche lodges there, but you don't get a true experience, of Africa. And these tents are not just tents. It's glamping, it's like a fake camping. And after this, I'll give you there's another one called Oleserain, the Tana Spring Camp. It's amazing. It's like, I don't know if it's not even camping. Those guys, they did wonders into that. So it's glamping, it's fake camping. So that's one of the things. But the way most of our program we do like this kind of camping, which it's a tent almost the size of a normal bedroom with a nice bed inside to sleep. And if you're friends like twins, we have there's 2 separate beds. And then, of course, a nice place to sit. And it's solar powered all the time, and then nowadays we have people using CPAP machine. There's outlet there where you can plug it and use it all night. And then behind the tent, which is attached in there, like that little in there, there's a bathroom, the toilet. We call it a loo with a view. And then further left, that's where the bathroom, the shower place is. And there's a sink there where you can brush your teeth and shave. And there's a big mirror there, you can use it. And all these are inside your tent. And of course, there's a beautiful campfire. You can sit outside because a bush television. You enjoy your glass of wine or tea or coffee, wherever. and enjoy that. And this is how the setup is. You can see all the sleeping tents way back there, and the place to enjoy your campfire is right there. And down here, this is another kind of camping, you know. It depends on how you want it. If you want that kind of style, or you want the one with a platform in it, they're all there. It's just a matter of how you want it to be done. And this is how it looks inside the tents, that kind of tent with a wooden floor. And this is how it looks, the bathroom in there. So sometimes, you know, you can't even believe you're in a tent in a Serengeti. And this is the main tent, all the meals are taken over. Yeah, and of course, some people want to go to Zanzibar, or you want to combine Zanzibar in your program, which is very lovely island, stone town there. Do a walk there. We have a local guide, Mr. Tahib, who works for Holbrook there. He does talks and walk with you in a stone town. He takes you to farm, our spice farms, and drop you somewhere in a beach. This is stone town, how it looks from here. And I take you down to the beach. There's so many resorts in the beach area. You name it, you know, top niche, different ones like that. And stay there, maybe you need like 3-4 nights. And then after that, you call it, you know, you can do all those kind of activities, you know, snorkeling and diving, kite surfing. It depends on what you want to do. And as I was saying earlier, you need to have good guides. We do have the good guides. So that's all about. And I think I'm done into that. So I can talk about it till tomorrow. Any question?
Well, thank you so much, Lucas. That was really interesting and informative. We do have some questions. Before we jump into that, just real quick, I will also share my screen here. We do have just a few upcoming programs scheduled for Tanzania. We do have one with the Florida Museum of Natural History scheduled to travel in September. So if you're interested in information about that, we'll send out information for you. We also have a few programs that we call our trips to plan. So if you're working with an organization that's interested in learning more about planning a trip for your school or your Audubon chapter or your zoo or aquarium or any other organization, we can provide more information about that as well. So now I'll jump into the Q&A. So again, thank you, Lucas, for your informative presentation. One of the first questions that we have is, there was a photo early on in the presentation that showed some of the wildebeest and zebras that were grazing. And there was a question about whether there are snakes or other dangers in that tall grass that could potentially harm the animals that are grazing.
Okay, I mean, snakes are there, but those snakes are not there for the big animals. So there's no problem for that. And for me as a guide, I can say I might go 20 trips and see just a print of the snake crossing the road, not even see them. So of course they're there. They're there. It's a part of the world ecosystem. Yeah, they're part of the ecosystem. Thank you. They're there. Yeah, and we got you name it, all the deadly snakes are there, but it's not that affecting those animals, because you have to understand the snake's poison is not just to attack somebody; it is for their prey. That's why those snakes which have a deadly poison, like a perforas, they are slow movers. So that if they bite a mice, the mice don't go 10 miles away. It's just clot the blood there and go for it. Snakes like cobras or whatever, those are the ones who spit or whatever, they can bite you and you can go some few miles. So because they're movers, and they never bite you and say, do you want another one? No. It's a long time, so something like that. They're there for their own benefits. It's not for we and these animals. I think I've answered the question.
Yes, thank you. We have another question, and I will direct this to both you, Lucas, and Andrea as well. A question about the infrastructure and driving between locations. How difficult is it to get from one location to the next in Tanzania?
I think I'll let Lucas answer that, and I'll chime in if I can add anything.
Okay. For that point, this is one of the very nice about Holbrook, how we do the itinerary. One of the things we really take care is a pace between. And the longest drive, and this is how lucky we are in northern Tanzania, our parks are very close. For example, like living in Arusha to Tarangire is less than 2 hours in a good road. Tarangire to Ngorongoro is less than 2 hours if you go straight, but there are a lot of things to see on the way. Ngorongoro to South Serengeti is like 1 hour, but there's a lot of things to see on the way, okay? And each place there's a facilities, and I mean, bathrooms, toilets to stop on. And just to let you know, one of our tour, we've taken the 101 years old guy.
Wow.
Yes,
Oh
101.
gosh.
And he was so funny, this guy. He really wanted to see a lion. And I remember when Serengeti, we saw the lion and they said, Lucas, I'm ready to die. I'm like, oh, don't die here, please.
Yes, that was a memorable event. That was a Rhodes Scholar, right, Lucas?
Right, you remember that, huh? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
We had a picture of him here at the office, but that's something I always share with people.
Yes.
Because for me, that was just mind-blowing, you know, that you would travel, you know, to East Africa at 100 years old, and he did very well. I remember he went with his daughter. Yes.
And in addition to that, we have people with somehow difficulties on walking. Like in the day when we do the cultural tourism part of it, in the village they have a walk tuk-tuks, those Indian three-legged little cars. We put our people there, the ones who cannot walk with other people, you know, into the banana plantation. So they have their own kind of tour walking there. It's very interesting to be in a tuk-tuk, three-legged those little cars, as well as they have a local guide. So there's no problem for that. So we can say from level 2 goes up, you can come to Africa.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Lori, we have an air question for you. Can you talk a little bit about what the standard flights are coming from the U.S.? How long is the distance, or how long are the flights, and where are the typical stopovers? Lori, your microphone is.
Now, how's that?
Perfect.
There we go. Thank you, Fran, for reminding me that the actual microphone itself has a mute button besides the presentation. The flights, the primary carriers that are used into Kilimanjaro Airport, which is the airport you fly into there for Tanzania. It's limited as far as the service is concerned. The primary carriers that people use will be Delta KLM via Amsterdam. They fly Amsterdam Kilimanjaro directly. So you've got, depending on where you live, 6 or 7 hours over to Amsterdam, and then it's, I believe, 9 to 10 hours over from Amsterdam to Kilimanjaro. You can also fly directly from JFK to Nairobi on Kenya Airlines, and then connect from Nairobi into Kilimanjaro. So the long flight's the first one. And then other options are with Ethiopian Airlines through Addis Ababa, and they have 3 or 4 U.S. gateways you can fly from. And they use connect with United service. They have an agreement with them. So if you can connect from where you live to Dulles, for instance, you can then fly from Dulles to Addis Ababa and then to Kilimanjaro, or Qatar Airlines through Doha. And again, there's several U.S. gateways for them, as well as they have agreements with connections with JetBlue. South African is not quite as easy, or through traveling through South Africa. Once you get to Johannesburg, you'd end up having to overnight, and then there's a connecting flight. It's not a direct flight to Kilimanjaro from there. Also, Turkish Airlines via Istanbul would be an option. Emirates via Dubai as well, sometimes an option as well. So it kind of, depending on where you're living, if you wanted to have a stop along the way in Amsterdam, that's a good option, is to be able to do that and take a break and enjoy a little something different there along the way. Otherwise, they are long flights for sure, and can be quite costly. The Delta KLM options tend to be higher in cost than potentially the Qatar or Ethiopian other carriers. But there's also this. You can also use British Airways through London, and then connect with Kenya Airways in Nairobi that way as well. So those are the main carriers that you'll be able to use from there. And the flights, again, depending upon the connections, you may have flights as long as 10 or 12 hours and for one leg or another, depending upon the actual connections you make.
Okay, right. Have another question that's sort of related, and that's where we have someone who's traveling with us in September, and they'll be staying a few extra days in Arusha, and they would like to know what suggestions we have for additional time in Arusha.
That would be for you, Lucas.
Yes. In which program they're coming in which tour?
They don't specify.
Okay. There's.
I think they're on the Florida Museum program, if I'm not mistaken, though. In September.
Right. Are we doing Arusha National Park?
In the program itself?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Okay. So for Arusha, there's not that much unless as we just go on to Arusha town and come back. Oh, because of the long flight, what normally most of the people do once they get to Arusha, the next day they just take it easy and then do a walk, to get the body get used to that kind of environment and ready for the next day. Because Arusha town doesn't have that much, and understand for the program. Right after Arusha National Park, the next day we'll be doing a town tour, go to the market and all those kind of things. So it will be like a repeating. So something like that.
Lucas,
Okay.
also there might be Lake Duluti Lodge, depending on the program, if it's not already, right? That might be an option to kind of enjoy that environment and be a little bit outside of Arusha.
Right. Thank you. If do they stay at Mount Meru Hotel or Lake Duluti?
Mount Meru. Mount Meru.
So, yeah, they can do a boat ride at Lake Duluti, as you said, and do birding or do the walk there into that area. Yes, that can be arranged. Thank you, Andrea.
Okay. We have time for just a couple more questions. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if we don't get to your question today, we will try to respond via email following the webinar. We do have a few questions, Lucas, about the tented camps. And there's one person who's asking how safe it is to walk around the camps at night. And then also wanting to know if the camps have feeders set up to attract the birds in the area.
Okay. Into the camps. Okay, the camps are designated by the park authority. And once these camps are not fenced, that means wild animals goes around, and that's one part of the experience. So once you get there and after dinner, you're gonna be escorted to your tent by the camp staff, so security there. And once you're in your tent, you're not allowed to come out at night, so you stay inside there, which there's no animal coming in your tent, no, but you have to stay inside. You're not supposed to get out and walk around, okay? And there's nothing about bird feeders because we don't want to attract these wild animals to be, fed by animals. So all our national parks are trash in, trash out. Even the kitchen, they have to make sure any leftover, none of it remain there, because that's what happened to some of our African countries where they had these camps and then put the leftovers there and attract leopards, attract hyenas, attract baboons. And baboons are half human. They even land down there to open the zip. They see you zip down, they know you're closing, zip up, you're opening, and they come in. But where the problem is, we human beings started that. Feeding them, giving them something. So in our national parks, out of the park rangers protecting everybody, they have an environment department which comes to these camps without notice and checking. So I think I've answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
We have a lot of questions here. We'd love to maybe just zip through them very quickly. We'll give us as brief an answer as we can so that we can get through everyone. What do you think, Lindsay? Do we still have time?
We can do that, sure.
Okay.
There's a question if there are any opportunities for direct interaction with the animals. So for example, an elephant orphanage or something similar.
In Tanzania, no. But in Kenya, they have an elephant orphanage in Nairobi and a giraffe center. But in Tanzania, we don't have that. It's everything to us is natural. You go and see those animals in the natural. There's nothing. Okay. Yeah, people try to have a little zoo in Arusha. Hey, government said, come on, it's less than a half an hour. Go and see them there in the wilderness.
Okay, let's keep going then, Lindsay.
Okay. Someone else is asking if the tours are a set itinerary or are they set up according to what someone wants to see? Do they have to do, I assume the person is asking.
I can answer that one.
Sure.
So we have sample programs, trips on the trips to plan part of the website, and we can also, as Lucas was referring to earlier about photographers or family and intergen program, or perhaps a program that might be focused in on a specific aspect of wildlife or a zoo. There's just absolutely we can customize as well as we have set programs on the website.
And don't forget the honeymooners too.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yes.
Okay,
Indeed.
thank you. Lucas, you touched on this a little bit, but there is a question about physical activity, fitness level, and how much walking or hiking is there involved for people who are concerned about fitness level and how fit they need to be.
As I said, level 2, somebody who can walk a couple of few steps, maybe, how can I say, maybe 100 steps, easy, can do that, okay. And yeah, and the way we do, once before the program, Holbrook, of course, they get all the information from the clients, and then they send to me information like, we have this client who say that she can walk far or he can walk far, so we always make sure they get the closed rooms. To the main building. So we all take care of those things. And I'm sure the next question might come up about food. Hey, they're going to have a great time on that. Out of the American English food, there's a local African dish, which is part of the experience. Well cooked, well prepared. Even if somebody is vegan, vegetarian, whatever, once Holbrook send us information, we pass those to the lodges, to the camp, they're very careful of that. So there's no question of that.
Great. A couple more questions. One of them was about why is April not a popular time to travel? Not
actually early April is good. Mid-April, that's when the heavy rain starts, heavy rains. But of course, we still have people do that as a kind of safari. But mostly we prefer till maybe 15 or early, the 15th of April. And then you stop that 15th of April to very early May, and then you just go ahead again. But other people, they take that advantage of the rain season because the prices are way low, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was one more question about bird feeders. Are they set up in camp areas to attract birds? Oh, you answered that, excuse me.
Yeah, I did. Yes, it
okay, thank you. I just wanted to make reference to Holbrook being a part of Friends of the Serengeti, and this is a nonprofit association that is comprised of tour operators, specialists in travel and other naturalists and etc. In order to provide support for Serengeti's conservation, and been very active in trying to fight the construction of a road in Serengeti. So I don't know, Lucas, if you have any update in that regard with respect to that aspect.
Yeah, as far as I know, because I don't know what is going on with the government, but as far as I know, that program of putting a highway in Serengeti is no longer there. Because otherwise my president could talk about it after he came into power, and nothing about that. So that means it's gone. So we thanks to all the social medias, all the nature lovers who speak out. And in addition, I'm real pleased with my president. Till he came into power, even poaching went down. This guy is amazing. So we're so lucky to have him, so like that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Are there other?
Okay, wonderful. We do have one, I guess, last question, and someone is asking if Lucas would be the tour guide on a Tanzania trip.
Uh-oh. Lucas, you're never going to get to see your family now.
I think I need to have an agreement, signed agreement with my wife that. Yeah. What is the? I need to see the date. I cannot guarantee exactly. Which one? Because you Holbrook, you have different groups, and so I don't know which one. Is that September one or the October one or which one?
I think just in general.
In general, I mean, okay, people, they have to understand it. Okay, Lucas is one of the guides, but they're very good guides more than me. Yeah, I'm speaking openly because once you have Lucas there, Lucas have all these things thinking about, but your guide will be focusing only on you. But of course, if I get a time, I'll be with you there. But our guides are well trained and ready to do that in a very professional way. So for the guide point of view, don't even think about it. Yeah, you just come there and you'll never ever regret.
Wonderful. Well, I think that wraps it up for today. Are there any final notes that you'd like to add, either Lucas or either of our panelists, Andrea or Lori?
For me, welcome to Tanzania. Looking forward to see you down there and have my sign Holbrook Travel, welcome to Tanzania. That's what I can say. Because I understand. It's, the one thing I always even tell my colleagues, it's a big commitment for somebody to come from here all the way down there. So we have to prove the best. It's a once a lifetime trip. So we're ready for that. Welcome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your expertise. We really appreciated hearing about it, or at least I know I did. So with that, I think we'll conclude our webinar today. Thank you again to Lucas and to our panelists, Andrea and Lori, for joining us and for sharing their expertise. And thank you to all of you who attended and who were patient through our technological struggles. We appreciate you joining us. We hope you found that the presentation was interesting and informative. The webinar has been recorded, and so we'll be emailing everyone a replay of the webinar in case there were any parts that you missed or you wanted to see anything again. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you again to everyone and have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
And we say Karibu in Tanzania, which means welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.